Gail and welcome back to Gail's Low Carb Recipe Ideas. Today we're going to make a beautiful low carb chocolate cake. I'm going to do it in a loaf pan. I don't know if you remember those Spanish bar cakes. They used to be in a loaf pan size, like they're, like this. And they had the icing in the middle and then they had icing on top. Well, we're going to do the same sort of concept. But we're just going to make a really rich chocolate cake and it's delicious. So let's get started. I'll show you how to make it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put all the dry ingredients into one bowl. So to get started, we're going to put 2 3/4 cups of almond flour in to the bowl. And I use Kirkland. I pick it up at Costco because I find it's the best price. Mind you, the prices have gone sky high. It's just ridiculous how much everything costs now. And that's 168 grams approximately for the almond flour. And then I have a 1/2 cup of sifted, and I did sift it already so we didn't have any lumps in it. A 1/2 cup of coconut flour, which is about 28 grams. And then we have 3/4 cup of sweetener. Now my sweetener is monk fruit and erythritol. So I've got that, and the sweetener is about 125 grams. And then I have 1/2 cup of cocoa. And I find working with cocoa, it is so fine that it just, you inhale it. It's crazy. So just be careful because it doesn't feel that great in your nostrils. And then I've got 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. I used Himalayan salt. And then I have my baking powder, which is 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. So we're just going to take a second here, and I'm just going to mix it all up. This cake is really, really good. It's moist. It's chocolatey. It's the best one that I've been able to put together to make taste so good. Alright, so we've got this all mixed up. So I'm just going to set that aside, and then I'm going to bring another bowl in for the wet ingredients. So I have 4 eggs. They're at room temperature. And we are going to use 1 cup of mayonnaise, and I use Hellmann's mayonnaise. It makes it very nice and moist. I just love it. Okay, and now we're going to put in 1/4 cup of avocado oil is what I'm using. I like that. Out of all the oils, I seem to like it the best. Get that cleaned off a little bit here. Everything's so expensive now. I hate wasting. Truly hate it. Now, I have a teaspoon of vanilla, and I have a little bit left in the bowl here, so we'll put it all in. Now I'm going to take my electric beater and I'm going to mix this up. We are going to add a little bit of water, but in the meantime I'm just going to mix this up to start. So I'll turn it on, and once it gets going I'm going to shut it off because it's so noisy. Now I love my new beater. It's a Braun, and I don't know if you can see it here. I don't want to drip all over the place, but I've got, it's a Braun. I bought it at the Goodwill. I paid $5 for it. I don't think anybody ever used it. It's absolutely beautiful. And it's got the nice speeds on it. All my other ones, the speed was so fast that it was hard to control. So this one has a low speed on it, and it's actually low, which is really, really nice. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to add in my dry ingredient. Okay, we'll just set that aside. I got to get something to, there we go. Now we're going to use the electric beater again, and we're going to mix this up. And I'll be adding a little bit of water to it, but we're going to mix it up to see how it looks so far. See that the beater's nice and slow, it's lovely. It's not shooting everything all over the place. So you see it's quite thick, and I need to add my water. Coconut flour really absorbs a lot as well. So I've added a total amount of half a cup of water. I just like it to be a little more consistency of cake batter. There we go. That's a half a cup total of water. So I've taken a bit of my avocado oil, which I get at Costco as well, and I've used my baster, and I've put the olive oil along the side. There's a little bit in the bottom just to help the parchment paper stick a little bit better. So my cutting job was not the greatest, but we've got it so that I'll be able to lift the cake out once we have it baked. So let's get our cake. You can see our cake dough. We're going to put it in the pan. Yeah, if you use the oven, you can use butter as well, or another kind of oil to put into the pan, because you don't want it sticking. You want to make it come out nice and easy. And I find, even though it's Teflon pan, the parchment paper works so much better. So much better for me. Alright, where did my little knife go? Give me one sec here. Okay, so we've got it at 350. I'm going to put it in the middle rack, and I'll put the timer on for approximately 50 minutes. Okay, I just took it out of the oven, so I know I have to take and go around the edge. Hopefully my arm's not in the way here. This really doesn't need it on the sides, but I just need the ends. There we go. So I just have to get my cooling rack. So we're just going to transport it out of the loaf pan and into the cooling rack. So we're going to make our cream cheese icing, which is absolutely delicious. And I'm using Philadelphia cream cheese, the original. And I softened it in the microwave actually. I have 114 grams or 4 ounces of cream cheese. I just wanted it a little softer. I had it out for a while, but just felt I didn't have it out long enough, so I just put it in the microwave briefly, defrosting it. And then I have a 1/4 of a cup of butter, which is about 57 grams, and I did the same thing. I put it in the microwave and tried not to soften it too much, but it'll still work just fine what I've got here. Okay, so, oh, my oven just went off. 1 second here. And I'm going to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla in with this as well. There we go. So we'll mix this up. Now we're going to add in a 1/2 cup of monk fruit erythritol, and it's my sweetener. Okay, so we'll get this going here. Now I'm going to be putting some cream in it because I like to have it a little smoother than this, a little runnier, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to put in a half a tablespoon, and that probably will do the trick. Take my spatula Yeah, that's a nice consistency. I'm just going to mix it a little bit more, and then once the cake is done and it's cooled down, we will ice our cake. So I baked the cake for approximately 50 minutes. I checked it a couple of times before just to see what was happening with the toothpick, and it was still a little gooey, and it was around 50 minutes. So what I did was I cut my cake in half. I didn't do a very good job on my slicing because I cut crooked just like my mother. My husband always says, you cut crooked just like Marie, and I do. But anyway, here nor there, it's still going to be delicious. So we're just going to add our icing in the center, and it feels moist. It's got a nice texture to it. Okay. Get the rest of our icing on top. Yes, the icing's delicious. I think you're going to really enjoy it on this cake. Don't need tons of icing on it, just enough to give it that little extra sweetness that you need. So I've got it iced as well as I possibly can, and I used to have a little gadget that I would just make little lines, and I don't have a clue where it is since we moved. It's probably still in the garage in boxes. So I have this little cutter for cutting patterns in the carrots and stuff that I like to use in its place because I have no clue where I put the other. So I'm just putting little lines in just to finish it off. You can see how crooked I cut it. Look at the angle there. But that, you know what? That's just the way I do it. I've never been able to get nice straight cuts. Even that one's crooked. There we go. Let's get a plate. There's our lovely cake. It's nice and moist inside. It's beautiful. So here is my chocolate cake with my cream cheese icing. Look how crooked I cut that when I cut it in half. Please try and do a little better job than I did. I've already eaten one slice. I'm a little full, but I'm gonna, it's very good. So we'll give it a try. Very tasty. Very good. Really enjoy it. So I hope you give it a try. It's one of my nicer ones. But you got to be careful that you don't overbake it as well. So if you'd like to go to my site, lowcarbrecipe.ideas.com, you'll be able to get this recipe and try many of my other ones. You take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.